Okay, hi everybody. Just want to go through something very simple, but it's something that a lot of learners tend to have a bit of trouble with. Right at the very beginning, when they first will start their lessons, irrelevant to things like clutch control and changing gear and stuff like that, one of the biggest things they can have trouble with is this: steering. Um, One of them is that some learners just don't have the concept at all of how far a steering wheel moves, and others that might have done things like go-karting and stuff like that, when you go-karting, there's what we call a quick shift steering rack, and literally from the wheels being straight to get them to what we call full lock, so as far as the wheels could turn in one direction, very much like a Formula One car, it only takes sort of quarter of a turn from one direction, quarter of a turn to the other direction, and it literally will take those wheels up as furthest around as they could possibly go in one direction to the other direction. So you've only really got sort of quarter of a turn, quarter of a turn, so you've only got a half turn in either direction in complete movement sort of thing. And that in itself, when they then get into a car, they just don't comprehend how much steering is absolutely necessary, or is necessary at all, to make the car get around a corner. And you'll either find that we get learners that just do too little steering or do too much steering, and then they just don't understand what they've put on the steering to then understand how much they need to take off the steering to get the wheels back to straight again. So just realistically, from any normal basic car, as a general rule of thumb, we call it 1.5 turns in either direction from the wheels being straight. So imagine my wheels are pointing forwards at the moment. If you notice the steering wheel and the badge on the center of the steering wheel, we can go one whole complete turn round and a bit more. It's about 1.25, but we say 1.5, and then it will take that quarter and another whole turn again to get the wheels back to straight, and then it can go another whole turn in the opposite direction and the quarter turn again, and again quarter and a whole turn back will bring me back to straight again. So you've got to understand, whatever steering you do put on when you're going around corners, you must take that back off again to be able to make the wheels go straight again. If you don't take that back off, the car's going to continue still going in that direction. So if you go a whole lock in one direction, but you only then take it back to where you think is straight, the wheels are still at an angle in that direction by a whole one turn of the steering wheel. So you have to get it back round to that central position. Now, a lot of modern day cars have got power steering, and realistically, if you sort of let go of the steering wheel and drove in a straight line, the wheels would naturally bring themselves straight. But you don't want to be letting go of the steering wheel. If you're letting go of the steering wheel, nobody's got control of the car, so that car could go in any direction. And you've only got to have things like wheel balancing out, a tracking out on your car, a lower tyre pressure in one tyre than the other. It can pull the car in any direction it wants. So just to sort of say it will centralise itself isn't necessarily 100% factual. It might not. The only person who's going to keep it going in a straight line is you, and that's by you holding the steering wheel. So I'm just going to do a couple of laps just around this car park just to show you how little or how much steering is necessary. What you'll tend to find is, as you go faster, there's less steering required on real roads. In a confined space like a car park, you're going to be using more steering than you would be using just generally as a rule, and you'll gauge that as you start building up your speeds and start driving on real roads. But when you are in a confined space, you will find you do need to put more steering on than you would normally do in general everyday driving. 90-degree turns, you know, and wide junctions that are more than 90 degrees, you're going to be using more steering. But generally on the road, there's only going to be a gentle little bit of steering left and right just to get you around corners and bends and stuff like that. So I'm just going to show you, as I drive around this car park, how little or how much is needed. But obviously, to remember that when we do straighten the steering, we've got to make sure we get it back to that point, either 1.5 turns from one direction or 1.5 turns from the other direction, to make the car then continue to go straight. Okay, so I'm just gonna let some of these children come past first. So as you can see, as I'm coming around here, I've put full lock on with my steering, and the car is literally going to carry on going round and round and round until I start to straighten it back up again. But going down here, I'm going to turn right at the end. So this is a 90-degree bend. As I come around the corner, so there's quarter of a turn, half a turn, 3/4, a whole turn, but I'm now starting to let that steering come back off again as I come to the end of this bend, and I'm going back to straight again. And again, if I let go of the steering wheel, it's not going to go anywhere. It's the wheels are straight, so it wants to take me in a straight direction. Okay. So again, if I'm going to do 180 degrees down at the end of this road, I'll do the same thing. I'll turn round. So there's my half a turn, 3/4, whole turn, and just before I get to the end, I'm going to bring it back to straight again. So I've put on a whole turn, I've got to take off a whole turn. But you'll find as your speeds do increase, you tend to find you'll end up doing less steering. So I'm just picking up the pace a little bit. So there's my half a turn, nearly 3/4, but I've still made it around this corner without going any further. And it's as your speeds do increase, because you're traveling further quicker, it just takes less steering to do it. But whatever I put on, I must take off again. And if I don't take it back off again, we're going to continue going in that same direction. So I'm just going to do that one more time. I'll try and make it a little bit tighter this time. So I'm going to put on my steering. So there's my half, 3/4. Nearly a whole turn, but if I don't take it off, it wants to aim me towards the car. So I've got to take it off, otherwise we're just going to keep going round. And I'll say just a little bit of steering is going to take you in a little angle. Straighten it back up again. I'll now continue straight. Go left a little, it will take me left a little. Putting the wheel straight, it will take me straight again. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you've always got to make sure whatever you put on, you take back off again. And if you don't take it back off, you're going to keep going in that direction of what you've put on with the steering. Okay. None of it has to be excessively fast. It can all be very, very gentle. But by all accounts, just get to grips with it initially. Just learn what the car's going to do by how much steering you put on. So I can just weave it up and down this road just by adding a little bit one way, a little bit back the other way. But get used to it, see what it's going to do, and eventually you'll know how much you need to put on, when you need to take it off as well. And the taking it off is just as important as putting it on. If you put it on too early, you're possibly going to turn into a road and mount the pavement. You put it on too late, you're going to turn the corner and you're going to cross the white line in the centre of the road. So you need to know when you've got to put that amount of steering on and how much of that steering you need to put off. If you don't take it off quickly enough, again, you're going to end up going around a corner and you're going to be aiming towards the curb or towards a parked car. All right, so it's all about just understanding what you need, when you need it, when to take it off. All right, hopefully that's helped you. But whatever you do, just get out in a car, practice with it, play with it, see what it is capable of doing and how much you need and how much you don't need. I'm just going to do a general drive, and with the camera positioned where it is, you'll be able to see, and I'll link it in with the other footage that I've got, you'll be able to see how little amount of steering is needed for just general driving. Okay, so there's not going to be a lot of talk from me, but you'll just be able to see how little is needed for just general sweepy bends. So as you can see, it takes very little for me to achieve what I need to achieve. Not a vast amount of steering required at all, but it's enough that is necessary to do what it is I need to do. Okay, so I hope that helps you a little bit, and as I say, just get out, have a play, and just use what is necessary. All right, thanks very much.